Have you ever studied for hours, only to wake up the next morning and remember almost nothing? Meanwhile, Japanese students somehow memorize over 2,000 kanji and keep them for life. And here's the part that shocked me the most. The year I felt the most exhausted was the year I slept 8 hours a night. But the year I slept just 5.5, I was more alert than ever. Why does your brain delete important information? And how can someone who studies less sleep smarter and follows a few tiny Japanese habits learn faster than you? The truth is, your brain isn't broken. It's simply following rules you were never taught. Memory fades quickly when information isn't recalled, and your energy crashes when your sleep and daily habits don't align with your biological rhythms. Japanese students aren't born with superhuman memory. They synchronize their habits with how the brain actually works. Their mornings begin with natural sunlight and a short walk. Research shows that even 10 minutes of light movement can boost recall by up to 20%. They review old material before touching anything new because the brain stores information more efficiently when the pathways are already warmed up. They eat until they're only 80% full to keep their energy steady throughout the day. And instead of sleeping more, they sleep in cycles and wake up at the right moment, avoiding the heavy fog that comes from interrupting REM sleep. These habits aren't dramatic or extreme. They're small, repeatable actions rooted in kaizen, the idea of improving just 1% each day. And when combined, they create a system that helps you remember longer, learn faster, and feel clearer than you have in years. If you ever visit a Japanese campus early in the morning, you'll notice something almost every student does without thinking. They step outside, even if just for a minute, and they walk. From the dorms to the station, from the station to school, those 10 minutes of slow movement are not a coincidence. Studies now show that a short walk can boost memory consolidation by up to 20%, and Japanese students have been unknowingly using this advantage for decades. Natural light resets their cortisol awakening response, signaling the brain that it's time to focus, not to scroll mindlessly in bed. Their day starts with stability, not chaos, because their internal clock gets calibrated before their first thought of the day. And when they sit down to study, they do something most people overlook. They review what they learned yesterday before touching anything new. This simple habit warms up their neural pathways the same way stretching warms up your muscles. It makes learning smoother and dramatically reduces forgetting. Some students even have small rituals: brewing a cup of tea, wiping their desk, arranging their pens. These aren't just aesthetic choices. They're psychological cues that tell the brain, we're entering focus mode now. And because these habits are tiny, repeatable, and rooted in the rhythm of the morning, they create a mental momentum that carries through the entire day, long before the first class begins. When it comes to studying, many people assume Japanese students succeed because they spend long hours at their desks. But the real secret isn't the hours, it's the method. Instead of rereading the same notes until the words blur together, they rely on active recall, the scientifically proven technique where you force your brain to retrieve information instead of passively recognizing it. Rereading feels comfortable because everything looks familiar, but retrieval is what actually strengthens memory. That's why Japanese students quiz themselves, recite definitions out loud, and explain concepts to friends even when they're unsure. They also follow spaced repetition, revisiting material on a precise schedule. The day they learn it, the next day, then day 4, then day 7. Each review strengthens the memory muscles, turning short-term knowledge into something that lasts. Layered onto this is kaizen, the idea of improving just 1% each day. Rather than memorizing 50 vocabulary words in a single painful session, they learn 5 today, 5 tomorrow, 5 the next day. Small steps compound into enormous progress, just like Toyota's legendary system of continuous improvement. Many students even follow the 40-10 rule, 40 minutes of deep focus, 10 minutes of rest. This rhythm prevents burnout while keeping the mind sharp. And when they inevitably miss a day, they follow another simple principle: never miss twice. Consistency, not perfection, is what moves them forward. All these methods share one truth: learning is not about working harder. It's about aligning your study habits with how the brain actually builds memory. Most people think better performance comes from working harder and sleeping longer. But in Japan, students learn early that recovery is a skill, not an accident. The reason you can sleep 8 hours and still wake up exhausted is simple: you woke up at the wrong moment. Sleep runs in 90-minute cycles, moving from light sleep to deep sleep to REM. If your alarm cuts straight through REM, you feel heavy and disoriented, as if your mind is still underwater. But if you wake at the end of a cycle, even if the total hours are fewer, you rise feeling sharper, which explains why 5.5 hours can sometimes feel better than 8. Japanese students pair this understanding with another cultural principle, hara, hachi, the practice of eating until they're only 80% full. By avoiding the post-meal crash, they keep their energy stable for afternoon study sessions, and at night, instead of scrolling until their brain is overstimulated, they dim the lights, put their phone away, and slow their breathing, allowing melatonin to rise naturally. Many even spend 10 quiet minutes reviewing what they learned that day. This small act signals the brain to file the information into long-term storage while they sleep, almost like hitting save before shutting down the computer. Recovery is not a luxury in their system. It is part of the learning strategy itself. What truly separates fast learners from frustrated ones isn't raw intelligence, it's identity. Japanese students rarely think, "I'm trying to study more." Instead, they shift into a different belief entirely. I am someone who learns every day. This identity makes their habits feel natural instead of forced. When you see yourself as a learner, reviewing your notes isn't a chore, it's simply what you do. The same way brushing your teeth is not a motivational challenge. Another powerful technique they use is teaching what they just learned. Explaining a concept forces the brain to reorganize information, strengthening neural connections, and revealing gaps that passive reading hides. Some write short blog posts, some mentor younger students, some simply talk through the material with a friend on the train ride home. And between these moments of effort, they embrace silence. The quiet minutes walking between classes or sitting alone in the library become opportunities for the mind to restructure ideas beneath the surface, the same way roots grow quietly before a plant breaks through the soil. Tiny reflection rituals, writing one sentence about what they learned, straightening their desk, preparing tomorrow's materials, signal to the brain that learning is part of who they are. Over time, these small identity-based habits matter far more than bursts of motivation, because identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes results. So here's the truth: learning faster isn't magic, and it definitely isn't about grinding harder. It's about aligning your habits with how your brain actually works, like stepping outside for 10 minutes of morning light, moving your body just enough to boost recall, reviewing yesterday's lessons before adding new ones, and improving only 1% at a time. It's about spacing your study sessions so knowledge sticks, eating until you're 80% full, waking up at the end of a sleep cycle instead of in the middle of one, and building an identity that says, "I am a fast learner." None of these habits are dramatic, but together they reshape the way your mind stores information. Tomorrow morning, try just one tiny change. Take a 10-minute walk and review something you learned yesterday. That small step might be the beginning of your new learning life.